Hello, friends. This is Rekha Guru, continuing the series on trauma. Today, I wanted to talk about specifically what happens because of trauma and what are the different kinds of trauma. So, yesterday, I said that any event that is too much, happens too fast, and too soon overwhelms the nervous system, overwhelms our entire body system, body, mind, emotional system, and we experience this as stress. So this is somewhere again, I really want to use the definition that I've often seen Dr. Gabor Mate use to define stress. It really changed my own perspective of stress. Stress is something. It is any state that threatens that our homeostasis, any state that threatens our homeostasis, and I spoke about homeostasis yesterday. It is either due to a real experience, it's real, or it could be a perceived experience of loss of control, yeah, lack of information, uncertainty, and conflict, right? So, loss of control, lack of information, uncertainty, and conflict. So, this could be real or it could be perceived. Either ways, it causes a stress in our nervous system. And when day in and day out we are in a situation where we do not feel that we have control over the situation, we feel uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lack of information. You want to know, but you're not being told, or you don't know what is true, or there's a constant conflict. That kind of situation really creates a lot of stress. Right now, if you look at our whole world scenario, it would be, to experience stress is very natural. Just with COVID, you could see all these four things are very true, and so to experience the stress day in and day out and at different times and to lose homeostasis is a very natural thing. So that is something I really want to acknowledge if you're experiencing that now, stress. And it also opens up old trauma. So even though everything might be safe and working well for you, there might still be that perceived experience of I don't know and I don't have control, and things like that. And of course, in life, we don't really, in the greater way of looking at it, there is not, we don't really know, we cannot have full control ever about anything, right? So these are some of the events in these ways cause stress, and when our homeostasis is threatened or disrupted, if we are not given the time and space to return back to homeostasis in our own pace, and so that we can talk about it or we can be seen in this by someone, an empathetic witness, then, if we do not have that, that is when we have trauma. And if you look at it, when in your life do we feel helpless? When in our life, we can feel something as too much, too soon, too fast, as children, our first 5 to 8 years of our life, we are supposed to be taken care of by our parents, by the extended family, the society we live in, when we go to school, our teachers, the principal, the administrators, so as a child really experiences that overwhelm, and who is there for the child to speak to is very important. So childhood trauma, and it's called as developmental trauma. It is very, very crucial, and it has started getting more and more room now to be spoken about. Earlier, it was not even acknowledged that there is something called as developmental trauma. And I'm going to do another video completely about this study that was done at Kaiser in US called ASAP, and how it really brought light on developmental trauma and how children, in the first 5 to 8 years of life, what kind of environment they grew up they grow up in, this loss of control, this feeling of loss of control, lack of information, not being told, uncertainty and conflict, when this is what defines the external stimuli, that also is what gets integrated into the development of the brain. And as we become adults, this worldview of the external environment starts also dictating how we respond and show up in this world. So they are very interconnected. So developmental trauma, and I feel like there is nobody who is alive right now who could have been completely free of developmental trauma. That as a child, that either we had to grow up too soon, too fast, or especially in India, where we have so many rules and regulations based on religion, culture, tradition, which completely compromise authenticity or our own truth and intuition. And when we are, as a child, we are really not, children have no rights in India, I feel. Children really don't exist. They are completely dictated by adults. They are not included in decision making. They are not included in conversation. They're almost shut. They're almost seen as less intelligent or less. And all these has an effect on the child. You only realize that when you become part of Aboriginal communities or indigenous communities, where a child is so much part of the entire society. A child's view is also as much important. What a child feels, how a child sees something is never negated. It is actually received and acknowledged and held space for. So when we don't receive that as a child, and we have to keep shutting ourselves or hiding ourselves and being there for our parents as they want us to be, that also affects who we are as we grow up and become adults. Yeah, there are certain parts, there's a fragmentation that happens inside our own system, in the way we see ourselves, and in the way we show up in relationships, and in the way we interact with the world. So there's a lot of stuff on developmental trauma today, awareness, mother-child relationship. So I will do a whole video on that separately, but that is a type of trauma. It's developmental trauma. Early developmental trauma, childhood trauma is very, very key. And I feel almost all of us, our worldview gets shaped because of this. Yeah, and that is one kind of trauma. And the other trauma is a single event trauma, something catastrophic or something happened, like an accident, major accident, or an event, a single event that was so much, too much. So this could even be an adult. It could even be for an adult. And sometimes if there is already developmental trauma, then a single event can be even more traumatic. Sometimes we have seen that when a child, when the developmental trauma is very, very negligent in a child, and the child was seen and has a very safety and connection informed view of the world, or belonging informed view of the world, was seen, had an empathetic witness growing up, then that child, even in case of a single point, like an acute trauma event, the ability for that adult to bounce back is way higher than someone who has chronic developmental trauma, chronic trauma through early developmental stages of life. Their ability to bounce back is much, much more difficult, in an acute trauma situation, a single event trauma situation. And so that is, But even a single event, even as an adult, you move through the death of someone really close, a parent moving through, a mother moving through, or witnessing the death of a child, or things like that, or a very abusive moment that you witness of violence, and if to come out of that, if you're not given enough time, or if there's nobody that you could talk about it, who listens to you without judging and without cutting you off and directing you to do this and that, not acknowledging your pain and hurt and sadness or grief or loss. And when that doesn't happen, even an acute, even a single event can cause so much PTSD in the nervous system, post traumatic stress disorder, it's called. And so then that becomes, so that event, or what your inability to respond to that event, stays in the nervous system, and it starts informing your future worldview. So that is one kind of trauma. It's also called as the acute trauma. And then the third category of trauma that, there are so many words for it, but I would like to call it systemic trauma. Systemic is when you're part of a system that could be a group, a community, a religion, a race, even a whole family system, where there is continuous stress, this continuous feeling of loss of control, lack of information, uncertainty, and conflict. When you grow up like that, day in and day out, that is what informs, then starts, becomes so much part of your body and your nervous system, your body system, that is then, as an adult, it starts informing your worldview and how you see things, how you respond to the world, what triggers you. So this is again a part, the ASAP study really clearly said that, demonstrated this, so when, and if you see, most people, fights and conflicts, even in India, we're so quick to judge someone, but to see where they come from, what informs that. So as in India, even in India, I feel, because we have such a long history of systemic oppression. Oppression based on your caste, color, ethnicity, religion, where you live, all that, there is such a systemic. And when people from another state come to another state, or, so we have, and it's because there's so much differences and diversity across the country. And when those different kinds of people come together, also there is chances of creating more trauma, right? And so systemic trauma in India is, I feel, very alive for all of us. I don't think there's any place again in the world, because of so many wars that have happened, and the kind of disparity, oppression and prejudice that exists in the society towards certain kind of people, that we differentiate people based on their backgrounds, who they are. And growing up in this environment like that also causes systemic trauma, and that informs the behavior. And so this conversation of trauma is so important, because that helps us really see more of the person, and where the person is coming from, what informs the action, what informs behavior, and so it is so important that, our solutions and our processes and the systems that we create have within it this ability to recognize trauma. And what happens? Why is this trauma conversation so important? One of the most thing that happens because of trauma, acute trauma, developmental trauma, and systemic trauma, is that we lose connection from ourselves. There is a deep disconnect from self. And when I say self, it is this what I spoke about, being the body mind system, the congruence of the body mind system, the integration of the body mind system working together in harmony, in union. Yeah, that gets compromised. The self is also the authentic self, who I am. You might be an adult, but you do not have access to being an adult. And sometimes I feel we do not even know what it means to be an adult. Yeah, and this is something even for me, that I have certain places I realize that, oh my God, I, as an adult, I have full access to who I want to be in this world, and I can take full responsibility for my actions, my choices, and my ability to say no, to whatever the situation may be. As an adult, that is my call, that is something that I can do. But when there is trauma of some kind in our system, I always see trauma like that, at the outermost shell. Like, if outermost shell is perception, narrative, story making, that has helped us survive the trauma or the event itself. So we create all these stories, and inside that story is our body and the feelings muddled up. So sometimes when you are beginning to do trauma healing work, the first thing you meet is perception and the narratives and the stories that you have told yourself, that it is okay, this is how it is, I cannot do this. So then the first step is always breaking down these narratives and seeing, where do these come from? As an adult, I do not need them. They were my survival anchors, but I no longer need them. So that's the first process. So many times the first process of even recognizing, because trauma is about the body, right? But the trauma care could have been wrapped up inside stories and narratives and cultural perspectives, the do's and don'ts and shoulds and should nots and all this kind of stuff. And when you unearth, when you clear that, unentangle that, within that you will start meeting, even without that, I have figured it all out in my mind, I have unentangled my mind, I have clarity, I can be an adult. But then you say the body doesn't move with the mind. So there is a discrepancy, incoherence between the body and the mind. The body wants to go here, but the mind wants to go here, but the body cannot go. Yeah, so that is where you start discovering there is trauma. Trauma also gives us a shame-based view of the world. Shame-based, blame-based, unworthiness-based view of the world. Because many times as a child, the only way you survive is you say, I am wrong, you're right. Even though you may be right, but you cannot. When an adult, so-called adult, is responsible for your own survival and safety and existence. And so it is easier for a child to see oneself as wrong than the adult itself. And we align with the adult, and in that process, we also compromise our own self, our own authentic self, our true nature. At the same time, we take on these views that, to get love, I have to do this. Only then I'm worthy of love. Yeah. I cannot do things properly. All these things, there's so many layers of narratives of blame and shame and unworthiness, low self-esteem that gets integrated into our own narrative and our own perspective of seeing ourselves and those around us, right? So these are some of the areas that we lose access to. Our intuition, we lose access to our intuition, our gut feeling. Yeah, this very gut feeling, we lose access to. And many times the gut feeling when there is trauma informed, is unsafety and threat informed. It's a perception. So that, because you already have lost connection to the authentic self. So whatever false sense of self, that is what's going to inform my intuition. And so these are some of the things that happen when there is trauma in the nervous system. We are not able to differentiate between a present stimulus and a past event. Is this I'm feeling, is it because of what's here, or what has already happened, or was something in my system is making me see or feel. So, because our whole world view gets distorted. So these are some of the things that happen because of trauma. And in the body, you may feel anxiety. So I was just looking at all the symptoms, hopelessness, uh, shame, self-hatred, panic attack, inability to sleep, digestive issues, loss of interest, depression, disassociation, hypervigilance, self-destructive behavior, and even little or no memories. So I'm going to make a video just on trauma and memory, because a memory, whenever trauma has happened in our system or those events, we don't have memory. Our memory may feel fragmented. We have just pieces here and there, and there's an incongruence. And so the ability to even hold memory, that gets quite destabilized because of trauma. So these are very real things. And we have to be able to honor and hold space for these things without judgment, to know that trauma is a very real thing for people. And almost everyone has some aspect of trauma. And how do we meet that conversation, or how do we meet and connect with someone while holding this narrative of trauma? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I invite you to start recognizing, as you look around your own life, the life of those around you, maybe your parents, your relatives, people in the world, from someone's inability to connect with you, somebody, the way they react with you, and all these things. What is there, and how does that make you feel, and what is open for you? These are things that we really have to start becoming present to. And why? Because being human is being social, being able to have connection, to connect. That is what informs something so powerful and beautiful for us, and to not be able to do that, is there's a loss for us to really know ourselves fully. So the journey of recovering, or stepping out, actually it's not even stepping out. You can't really step out of trauma. I think what we learn is to contain, to hold space for our trauma and our pain, to have more access to the homeostasis, to have more access to our big self, or the authentic self, that can actually hold those parts of ourselves which are kind of wrapped in trauma. And when they release that pain of that, or the helplessness of those moments, we are able to hold that and not let that inform our present stimulus. So I think that is the journey, and that journey involves a lot of release and untanglement in the body, and an integration at the level of the body, feelings. So that's the work. So this is, this is my, so this is where I would like to conclude for today. And I would like to, some of the videos that I am going to make in the coming days. One is on memory. One would be on autonomic nervous system and the brain. How does our brain function? Then also on diseases. Diseases and connection, illness and trauma, and of course developmental trauma. Then polyvagal theory. These are some of the areas which I'm so passionate about, because I am discovering so much about myself that I feel I really didn't know. So that's what I hope you enjoyed this, and this opened up some areas for you to explore further. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stay safe. Be more aware of your own self. Blessed be.